Okay, for this tutorial we're going to look at LaTeX section partitioning, which is kind of a logical way of designing your pages in LaTeX. So we'll look at the document here, finished document. Okay, and that's that. Look at the code guide, experiment, that's the best way to learn. Own it, which means try to apply your own content to the things you learn. And always use the .tex file extension. Code modifications, as we go through the steps, pay attention to the lines with the green comments. Those are the ones to watch. You don't need to type those in. They're just there for your reference. And also line numbers are for your reference only. You'll see them in blue along the left of the code blocks. Don't type those in, otherwise your code's not going to compile. The code demos, after all the code blocks, you're going to see the PDFs that were actually produced from that code. So you shouldn't have any coding errors or typos, because the code you see is actually being used to produce the PDFs. And here's all our finished code. I'm not asking you to type all this in. I just want you to see that that's the finished code. And once again, we'll take a look at the final document. Okay, we're going to start out small. So this is where we start. We've got the document class on line 1, which is a report. And normally I use article, but there are reasons for using report for this one. And on line 3 is the only content so far. How's the weather? And that's where we're at so far. You see in the upper left, how's the weather question. Okay, and on lines 3 through 5, we're going to break that how's the weather down into a section, subsection, and subsubsection. And you see the stars to the right of those command words. And basically that means that we're not going to have page numbering at this point. We're going to change that later. So here you can see it. As you look down the page, the type becomes smaller and smaller. So you've got the section, the subsection, and the subsubsection. And here on lines 3 and 4, we're adding our parts in our chapter. Line 3 is our part. Line 4 is our chapter. Okay, and part 1. Okay. And we're starting a chapter here. Anytime you start a chapter, you're going to have a new page. So that's where we're at. And now we're going to add some dummy text. So you see on line 2, use package Lipsum. Lipsum is a dummy text package. So we bring that in. So we have a lot of text in our output document, but it's not going to clutter the source document. But you see on lines 6, 8, 10, and 12, we're using Lipsum. And the numbers are just the paragraphs. So, like on line 6, you see Lipsum 1. That's the first paragraph of the Lipsum package. And here you see the dummy text. Okay. And now you see we're removing the stars. So we should have some numbering. So you see line 7, 9, and 11, we removed all the stars, and we should have some numbering. So let's take a look at that. And here on 1.1, that's our section, is. And 1.1.1, that's our subsection, the. And for some reason we don't get the numbering for our subsection, so we're going to look at a way to change that. So you see where it says weathering there, it should be 1.1.1.1, but it's not there. And before we do that, we're going to add a table of contents, and we'll look at our table of contents now. And if you look at the table of contents, you notice that the subsection is not here either. So it's not here, so we need to add it here, and we need to add the numbering for the subsection. So let's look at how we do that. On line 3, we're setting a counter for the TOC depth. TOC is our table of contents depth. So by default it's set at 2. We're going to set it to 3, and this way our subsection should show up in the table of contents. And we're also setting the counter for the section number depth on line 4. and by default that's 2. We're resetting that to 3, and that's going to give us numbering for subsections. So let's take a look at our document now, and you see at the table of contents 1.1.1.1 weather all the way at the bottom. So we've got it. It's working, and here it works as well. You see at the bottom for weather 1.1.1.1. There it is. Okay, and line 9 is the make title command. That's going to give us a title page, and it uses the content from within the preamble on lines 5, 6, and 7. You see the title command, the author command, and the date command. It's going to use all that data to produce this. So you see it there. It's got its own page, and there's the table of contents again. Part 1, question. Okay, and kind of going through the document here. And at this stage, we're just adding a lot of filler text, so we're just kind of building things out. I don't recommend that you type all this stuff in, or if you do type something, and type your own content at this point. But as we go through the steps to get to this point, the earlier steps, I do recommend that you type things in, but you don't really need to type all this in. Okay, and once again, that's the document. And take a final look at all the code here. Take one last look at the document. Okay, and that is it for this tutorial.